Action!
The fact that like a movie even gets made is a miracle.
Yes.
Most people thought we were just nuts.
I think it's going to be really distinctive.
It's disgusting, like Carrie levels of blood, like very gross.
It's the trippiest and scariest horror movie I can think of.
The umbilical cord of this fetus is attached and bursting out of Maggie's stomach and then dragging her behind, which is just utterly a horrific image.
I don't think I slept well that night after seeing that.
I don't have a fucking clue.
This is not just a horror movie.
It's pretty hardcore. So in 2011, we were wrapping up on the movie Father's Day, and Steve and I had just moved to Toronto. We felt like we had kind of done a lot of like tongue-in-cheek stuff.
We talked a lot about making an actual horror movie. We talked a lot about the Silent Hill games. The horror is cosmic and it's so big, you can't really wrap your head around it.
I like the idea in horror of sort of the unknowable. And I like the idea of building a story around that.
Jer was texting me title ideas. Then you sent me The Void, and it just clicked for me. It made me think of The Fog.
It was the one title that I sent that I was like, yeah, this is okay, I could live with this.
You were hooked on Eclipse for a while, but I kept telling you that's already a Twilight movie.
After coming up with the idea, we had this opportunity to pitch the film, which gave us like a hard date which we had to hit.
We didn't have like a script for it or a plan. I knew that I had effects that I wanted to try. And so that was kind of the origin of it for me, was just thinking up gags that I could do that would look cool in a 1.5-minute long trailer. We didn't really put any money into it, so it's just whatever I had lying around and whatever was in the shops that I was working at the time, I would, you know, funnel materials out to build our creatures and our gags. We doubled up like our disciples to make it seem like there was a parking lot full of them, like just basically scraping the bottom of the barrel.
The robes, the cultist robes, it's just something, I think I did a sketch of it, I showed it to Steve. It was almost like a vision, like almost like automatic writing, it's just sort of like an intuitive thing. And then Steve's friend, Devin.
Yeah, she's really the one that kind of added all the little flourishes to the robe designs that actually
totally
made
I
them
just drew
so
a blob
iconic.
with a triangle on its face.
She actually gave it some structure.
The proof of concept went over really well when we pitched it. I feel like it got a really strong reaction right out of the gate.
The first time I saw the proof of concept teaser at Frontiers, I mean, I was completely blown away, and it was pretty evident that so was everyone else in the room.
And then we had to write a script.
It was bonkers. Everything that they wanted to do was absolutely off the wall insane.
I just think that we didn't know what small meant when we were writing it. We just assumed, oh, well, it takes place in a hospital, like, we're not going to space, so I guess this is a small movie, right? When you're trying to make a movie for a little bit of money as opposed to no money, it actually becomes a way more complicated process. There's a lot of stuff in, I guess, our first draft of the script that we ended up cutting out just for budgetary reasons. There was more monsters originally. I think we lost 2 of them. Well, one of them kind of evolved into one of the creatures you see in the movie now, the Allison monster. But it was originally a lot crazier and bigger and, yeah, more of a set piece.
Most people thought we were just nuts. It was incredibly dark, and a lot of people were just afraid of it. On indie films, you're struggling to put all the financing and get the money together, and then when you do get it, you just want to take off and go.
Because it's so creature effects driven, it needed a lot of prep time, and it required a lot of materials and work to get the creature stuff ready.
We turned to Indiegogo and the public to raise funds in advance. The outpouring of support was tremendous.
If you're watching this, you may have contributed, so thank you.
Yeah, man.
We initially went north to look at a decommissioned hospital that I knew was up in the Sault Ste. Marie area. And upon getting there, we found the perfect spot for the last half of the movie. It pretty much was everything that the guys wanted.
When we were looking at the abandoned hospital, we were only going to use that basically for a few pieces because there was no power there.
Our location scout up north took us to a high school, and I knew within minutes of walking in there that we were going to use this not just for the hospital, but it was going to be our studio.
Where you have your production offices, you have your creature shop, your sets, are all located in one space.
Production designer Henry and I took many trips back up, and Henry created so much concept art to really drive home what he and I were seeing of the space.
Henry did a great job with the initial designs. He came here and scouted the school with us when we first saw it and took photos, and he then takes those photos and puts them in his computer and actually paints right on top of them. So they translate perfectly to what's here in our environment. So it's very easy to see what he wants.
When Stephen Jarre saw all of the sets there illustrated out in the environment that we had available to us, they were sold right away.
We had to cover, build fake walls, to do anything to hide all that locker business, and do it economically and do it in such a way that it just didn't look like just a sheet of drywall.
Our art department did so much with so little, and all of the people working with them, it was really impressive to see.
The most challenging build has been the temple.
It is most definitely the biggest build, and we've taken over what was the smaller gym to do it. And it's a magnificent set. It's 60 feet long, 40 feet wide, 17 feet tall.
We've dressed that all out to look like concrete. It's wood and foam that's then been acetated for texture and then base painted, and 4 colors of scenic dripping to age it. There's 25 gallons of paint on the walls. It's a lot of paint.
That set is like a perfect encapsulation of ambition, because you don't do things like that on tiny budget movies.
The lead up to the production in August was crazy. I mean, Steve had been working for 3 months straight around the clock in the creature shop on one side of Toronto. And at the same time, Jeremy is up in Sault Ste. Marie with the art department trying to put all the finishing touches on the set and getting all the detail that we know is really important to this movie. And I was trying to cast up the movie. All 3 heads of the Hydra were in different locations.
We worked our way through lists and lists of people, basically right down to the wire, when we finally got a cast into place that we were really happy with and we were very excited about.
You want to go first? No? Me? Okay.
I read the screenplay. It went from kind of monster body horror into existential horror.
Whoa, someone wrote a Canadian movie that's one of these. Like, this is the genre. This is the best genre.
You could very clearly see the descent into chaos and how things like slowly got madder and madder.
I watched the trailer and pretty much knew that this was going to be really awesome and cool, right?
They had a lookbook, so they had all sorts of drawings and animations about the monsters. And so I had a look at that and I went, okay, this is not just a horror movie.
There's this servicing of the genre and of the incredible effects. It's not at the cost of any of the characters.
Because that's what appealed to me is the change that takes place in Dr. Powell. When he becomes, you know, this other kind of person, as they call him, the Dark Powell.
Like it gets inside your psyche and threatens your soul.
I mean, the ultimate dream when you're making a movie is that you want the other people to be as excited as you are, so that everybody's trying to make the best thing. And I feel like we really had that. And then the movie went down.
About, well, a day before we were supposed to go to camera, I had to put us on hiatus because one of our financiers had dropped out.
Where'd all the stuff go? We had to lock it up in the back room. We had to stop everything, unfortunately.
Oh, back to square one.
It took a while. It was a lot of hard work, but I found some new partners who believed in the guys and I as much as the team that was behind us, and we put it all back together.
And then the movie goes down again.
So at this point, like, we have not shot a single frame of the movie, and we'd spent something like almost 1/3 of our budget. I mean, it bought us some prep time, which was great, especially for some of the creature stuff. But we lost shooting days We're forced to basically just have 20 11-hour days to shoot this whole movie, which was a
ridiculous.
Pretty daunting.
Oh, it's another day on the void, you know.
All right, guys. We need you guys to travel up to reception at the top of the hallway. We're gonna block.
Okay.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Thanks, guys.
Allons-y. Let's do it. Allons-y.
There were no average days on this movie.
We have very fast shooting days.
We had a shot list for every single shot in this movie that we immediately threw in the garbage as soon as we started shooting.
That went out the window. When storyboarding this movie, we essentially acted the whole movie out with action figures.
Which was Steve Manally's idea, and it's honestly genius.
You went from shooting in a tiny little room with people talking in one moment to a big stunt with practical effects, shotguns, smoke, fire, and a creature.
The necessity of a shoot, you have to shoot everything out of chronological order. And so many insane things happen in this movie.
This movie's such a steep escalation.
There's so much that goes on in this film that all of us, like as a cast, we've all had to like create like a meter of how much we are freaking out because, yeah, somebody's like Bev's face is, she's cutting her face off. Like, you would think in a regular movie that would be the most horrific thing, and so that would be like level 10 of freak out. But on this is like kind of 1.
The old cliche of like 99% of directing is casting, that's totally true. The cast came together beautifully. They were such a dream.
And they really gelled with each other too,
Totally.
which was nice. Like on a movie like this, you got blood and action and all kinds of shit happening. And so to have people actually kind of like, you know, coagulate into a little family is really nice to see. And that's what helps you get through the like horrible process, is everybody kind of being on the same page, helping each other along.
Right.
The cast really like took it upon themselves to do their homework, add nuance to their characters.
So they're not tied to the script and they're not, precious about it at all. They're giving us a tremendous amount of leeway.
The process was everybody get there, do the lineup, basically that's the rehearsal, and then shoot.
Sometimes we would shoot the rehearsal.
Yeah.
They decided to go with actor action because they wanted to be more realistic, which proved to be a challenge for me because sometimes working with actors who do not have stunt background.
Action.
But the actors have given it 100%, didn't hold back.
I actually wasn't expecting it to be quite as physical, even though I knew that there was a lot of activity and action. I feel like I'm running for my life every day for the last month.
Aaron brought an intensity to this movie that I think elevated everybody else in the cast and the crew as well.
He's very intense.
He had this process where I wouldn't say he was method, but it was like approaching that.
Kind of like to take a running start, so to speak.
Before a take, we would hear him on the other side of like some double doors, just smashing a chair to pieces, like basically tearing the place apart. When everybody else around sees that, like that kind of commitment and like intensity, it's almost like a lightning rod that fuels everybody to take it that seriously.
Today we were shooting the Beverly Monster. So we had a soft axe because there was somebody in there. Obviously we didn't want to hurt them.
Poor Michael, who's inside this thing as like the front of Beverly, he has like Daniel and Mick like literally just wailing on him.
And I ripped the top chunk of my axe off because we were just going so vigorously at this thing. That was really fun.
One thing that happened when Grace gives birth to the creature, her belly explodes and splashes blood in her face. You don't know where it's gonna go.
Yeah, so I've got 2 cups full of blood, 2 32-ounce cups, and she's on the ground and she's like, try not to get it in my eyes.
Right,
and
the whole thing was keep your eyes open through this.
Yeah, and I'm of course like, oh yeah, no problem. So, call action.
I'm sorry. It's as if Steve were going for her eyes. The beautiful thing about practical effects is that they look great. They work best, in my opinion, like above CG, whatever. They look great on camera, but when you're on such a tight timeline, they need to work the first time through, and that's not how practical effects work. It's like a process of kind of like getting it there.
And we didn't have any time. Basically, you had to show up on set with a thing, which due to necessity and due to budget had to be built to be modular and serve multiple purposes, which just means there's multiple things that can go wrong on it. Thankfully, a lot of these things worked. A lot of them didn't. That's just the nature of these kinds of effects. Thankfully, we were able to do inserts after the fact to kind of fill out some of the sequences.
The special effects team is bananas talented. You don't really have to do anything but react to what you're seeing. It's not hard to feel terrified.
This is genius. Bubble wrap.
Yeah, that's great.
Bubble wrap wrapped up with latex nerdies?
Yep. That's the way to do it.
That's awesome. Those are your tentacles?
The key is to have chain in it, so it's got some weight to it.
We have Lee. This is Beverly. She is asked, right? So you mentioned at one point you wanted bits of her flying around.
We can, that's not till way later
Okay.
in the day, so right now.
False alarm?
Yeah. It happens all the time in the school.
We couldn't have made this film without the school. It was an absolutely amazing resource, but it didn't come without a couple hiccups.
Lost power on the second floor, or the part that we're shooting in anyway. Which isn't great.
This can't happen on any day.
Yeah.
We can't afford this at all.
I said it 100 times in this school. The first time we came to this school, the power went out. I have Cassandra complex, where I predict things and nobody listens to me. It's the truth.
I listen, Jared.
Steve listens. Not that that means anything. So we get to the sequence of this collapsing bloody meat corridor, which
we had dressed the night before.
Yeah.
Alright, Pete. Wasn't enough toilet paper. Any more bright fucking ideas?
Yeah, I'll go get some more toilet paper.
Sure. Be sure to ram yourself in the ass a few times so it's nice and bloody, seeing as we don't have any more blood left!
The collapsing hall's nuts.
The art department had done a phenomenal job of building this thing, because basically going in, like, I think we already started shooting before that they started making that thing, and it was kind of a question mark as to if it could even be done. In concept on the page, it was more of like this bloody kind of organic corridor that's like sealing up on him.
And just the idea of that kind of build was like, I don't know how we're going to pull this off.
You know, could we do it something in post? Could we do something funny camera angles or weird lenses or dolly moves?
I think the solution, like the practical, achievable solution, it's something that, like, by all like practicality shouldn't really work.
It's just a matter of flats, which are walls, and piano hinges, and some stretchy material, and expanding foam, blood, gore, and guts, and a lot of manpower.
We had everybody behind those walls operating them.
And it wasn't just the guys building it or the guys painting it or us, the directors, and myself, and even you guys, the EPK crew out there. We had the office staff, we had PAs, we had everyone was behind there trying to make that thing work, and did make it work.
Everybody got covered in blood. Everybody had a good time. We got to crush the fetus monster.
Hey, slow down, slow down, slow down. Stop, stop. Keep going. That's about it there, guys.
What could be better?
The funny part is the collapsing hallway was at the end of an already especially hard day, which was the fetus monster fight.
Right.
I remember lunch that day, sitting there, looking at storyboards, and just Xing shots.
We had a fake version of the fetus monster that we were going to do a full burn on that was all ready to go. And literally, we just ran out of time. Like, there was no way.
And we made a judgment call that, like, if we go ahead with this burn, the setup time would be so long that it would basically ruin our chances of getting anything else that day.
Yeah.
So we decided to do it the cheap old-fashioned way with a flame bar in front of the monster and the monster writhing around as though it's on fire.
Steve, are you happy? Good, man. That's all I care about.
Tomorrow we get to stay up all night. I'm looking forward to that. I like night shoots.
Those days were hell days. They were some of the worst days because it was a rainstorm.
You would go through the trouble of placing the wardrobe just right. The hoods are sitting nicely.
Can we just pull his left cuff down a bit?
And in the time it takes you to run back to the monitors and call action, the wind has blown their cloaks and their hoods askew.
It's looking terrible. It looks like a bunch of like clan Santa Clauses, basically. And because of that, basically every single disciple shot in the movie is a VFX shot.
For a movie that sells itself on practical effects, there's a surprising number of visual effects. We fared a little bit better in our creature effects department.
We put out a call for movement performers because we wanted to see what we could do to get these creatures to just look different. We got Troy's audition and my jaw just dropped. And we didn't know what to make of it. We were like, what are we doing with this guy? Like, we have to do something.
Seeing his video, it was like a no-brainer to bring him on. We basically created the creature around him for what he could do. This was supposed to shoot in the summer, and by the time we were wrapping, it was December.
It's snowing.
Stacy, our script supervisor, led the charge and had a Void-themed Christmas tree made. It was pretty awesome. Pretty creepy, but pretty awesome.
There was a sense of accomplishment on the last day of shooting, getting everything, but there's also a sort of like nagging worry that, did we get everything? Steve has wasted hours of shooting time trying to fix this videotape.
Well, this is our only tape, and we shot half the movie on it.
I'm telling him we don't even use tape anymore. I don't know what he's doing.
Tape, activate, form of movie.
There's a terrifying element to it because, yes, we got through the shoot, but that also meant that there was no coming back to these locations. That was it.
It was surreal after having the rug pulled out from underneath us. And I know that you say this about many films, but literally at every step there's something that wanted to shut us down completely, entirely.
When you're on the outside or conceiving of a movie, it's just, you're in a vacuum. And there's so many logistics to shooting something that the fact that like a movie even gets made is a miracle.
Yes.
That is a picture wrap on Kenneth Welsh as well.
Let's go! Yeah!
It was a really good group of people. I mean, I'm incredibly lucky that I had that many empathetic yet talented people. Their support was part of what fueled us to keep going.
We're so lucky, the people that we got working on this. It's unreal.
To quit much less stressful jobs on big Hollywood movies to come work on our little monster movie is insane to me. And they brought so much expertise to the table that there was no way this would have gotten done otherwise.
you know, in the end, we did it. We have a movie, and no one can take that away from us.
It was an ambitious project, maybe a little too ambitious, but we survived. We didn't die making it, physically at least, and no one can take that from us either.
Cut. We'll put the glasses on now.